Today is the 2nd of February. It's a nice mild day. The day temperature is going to be about 10 degrees, might even rise to 12 degrees centigrade. So it's almost feeling like spring, although not quite yet. February continues to be a cold month, but this is the time when I visit Wisley to assess what trees need repotting and which ones don't need it. And of course there is a new sign here. Look at it. Herons Bonsai Walk made in steel. You can read some of the things written about it here. And it's also in Braille for those who are not able to read. They can read with Braille. So it's a lovely new sign which has been made for us. And I'm now going to show you how we assess the bonsai that require repotting and those that don't. So we will methodically go through each of the trees. The reason why we do this is because we've got to take the ones that need repotting back to the nursery to do. We can't physically do it at Wisley because the public are here, and many of these trees, a big tree like this, would take at least 2, maybe 3 hours to do it. So we look at the tree, we look at the health. If we home in with the camera, we can see how we judge whether the tree is healthy or not. Now this is a large Bishojo. It's almost 3 foot tall. I would say like 95 centimeter. And if you look closely at the buds, they're all beautiful. I was just speaking to the supervisor just now, and I asked him what temperatures did they have about 2 weeks ago when we had a cold snap. And he said that at Wisley, the temperature went down to minus 10 degrees centigrade. And as you can see here, none of the trees are protected. These trees stay out here throughout the year, 365 days of the year with no protection. And you look at the state of them, every tree is what we call pitch perfect. There's no sign of dieback or anything. So this tree is doing very well. And although I haven't repotted this for many years, again, if you bring the camera close, I can see that the roots are on the edges of the pot. But again, I would not say that this tree needs to be repotted because it's in such a healthy condition. I would leave it for another year and just continue feeding it. Because if you keep a tree pot bound, the leaves do get smaller. Now this one is a Tanuki juniper made with Bloor's juniper on a bit of boxwood. This brown color, I call it the frost blush. In America they call it bronzing. And this is when the frost gets on the foliage, turns it brown. But because this I brought last summer, I'm not going to replace this tree. This tree will stay here for another year. Again, I look at each tree and see the condition of the foliage. If the foliage looks all right, then it's a sign that the tree is doing well. And I prod around the base to see if it is really pot bound. I don't think this is pot bound. I always believe that if a thing is doing well, leave well alone. Don't interfere with it. So that will not go back. This is another tree that we brought in the summer of last year, Satsuki azalea. So this seems okay, so I don't need to take this away. So this is the way we assess all the trees. It's nice to see the trees in their winter condition. This is an edible fig. Again, the buds are all very plump. Again, I don't think it needs change, so that will remain. Sometimes we change the trees round just for a change of scenery, not because it's unhealthy. Again, this tree looks healthy enough, so I don't think I will change this one. This will stay here. Again, if you look at this one, this is a Japanese hornbeam, and if you home in close, the buds are already beginning to move. How exciting is that? They're all beginning to swell and get plump. So this tree again is in good healthy condition. I'm afraid at this rate I won't have to take any of the trees back. This one feels pot bound, it's rock solid. So again, this hasn't been done for 10 years. This is the famous Glaw's juniper. I may take it back for a change of scenery, but it's quite an imposing tree. And this of course is the horse chestnut or English conker tree. I display this tree because it's always a talking point. People see the horse chestnut as a huge spreading tree, 50 or 80 feet tall, with trunks of about 8-10 foot in diameter for really old trees, and yet you can make a bonsai out of it. So this will probably stay. This ginkgo again has been here for yonks, and it's one of the healthiest ginkgos. And again, if it's doing well, why change it? I won't rush to change it at all. Again, ginkgo is such a rare species that it's always a talking point, a lovely talking point for visitors. This is a classic case of the bronzing on evergreens. Cryptomerias are notorious for turning this brown color. Some people like the color. It's a lovely shade of orange, orangey pink. And where the frost doesn't get it, it stays green. And if you go into the foliage, you see where the frost doesn't get it, it remains green. It's only the extremities of the twigs and branches that turn bronze. I noticed that the frost has killed a lot of these ground cover plants or weeds, if you would like to call it that. So that will be removed. So apart from that, there doesn't seem to be much problem. So this is how we're going through all the trees. That's the Chinese elm. And again, this tree could do a change. Although if it's doing well, we will not touch it. This is a rather unusual bonsai. This is a native Austrian pine. This is doing well. I might change that one. Fried maples. This seems very pot bound. If you come close with the camera, you can see how some of these thick roots are trying to pop out of the pot. So this is a sign that this is really pot bound. So this will have to be changed. Also, I think this pot is getting a bit small for the size of tree. So I might just put it in a slightly bigger pot. Although if you were in Japan, they like to underpot their trees. I tend to go for slightly larger pots, just for the visual effect. They look bigger and are better in a slightly bigger pot. Again, this is a root over rock, trident maple in good condition, good ramification, and one of the trees that have been here for 10 years and have never repotted it. So it breaks all the rules. What I'm trying to show you in this little tour is that although these trees have been here for so many years, we have not rushed to repot them every 2, 3 or 4 years. And many of them have been here for 10 years without repotting, and they seem to be doing extremely well, not suffering at all. Even this one is doing very well. So if we go through all the trees very quickly, this one is popping out of the pot, if you can see. Look at that. You see how this may be just the moss, but I think it could do with a repot, so I will take that back. These junipers don't need it. Now this is a tree that I want to show you. This trident maple has been here certainly for
So they've now got
almost as long as the Wisley collection has been here, for 25 years. 1997, which makes it, yes, it's a long time. So this is a beautiful tree, and this certainly hasn't been repotted for at least 10 years. I will have to take this back. And if you look at the camera from this side, you will see that the pot is bowing. If you look from there, you see the pot is, this is a mica pot, this is not a ceramic pot. Had it been a ceramic pot, it would have burst the pot. But because it's a mica pot, it has bowed the pot, it's forced it out. So this certainly could do with repotting. This is one of the nicest trident maples I have. See, the squirrels are bearing their acorns in here. Oh, look at it. So this is going back. This is a Bouverensis pine we made more than 40 years ago. One of the first Bouverensis I ever made. Look at the size of this. And pines can stay in the pot for a long time, so I'm not going to rush to repot this tree. And I'm not going to rewire all the twigs and branches. This tree looks nice like this. There are one or two dead bits we can take out, but apart from that, this tree is perfectly fine. So let's go through all the trees. This I think might need taking back. You see how the moss on the soil is popping out of the pot. This tree has a long history. It was made 30 years ago. When I went to Herons in 1986, I dug it out. One of the first things I did was to dig out a beech from the hedge in front of my house. And this is how this tree started. Look at it now. 38 years later, and it's a perfect bonsai. It's got beautiful autumn color. Beautiful specimen. So that's going back. Another large tree. This is a mulberry with a massive trunk. I might take this back for some carving work, but health-wise it's okay. This is very pot-bound. This is very pot-bound. This was an ordinary field-grown Scots pine, which I wired and created this contorted shape. But if you look at the pot closely, you see how the roots are all on the edges, almost popping out. And because it's so congested, over a period of time, these roots will mesh together and form a beautiful nebari. So I might just take it back to the nursery to nurture it and get much denser growth. If you come close, you will see the amount of wiring that has been done. All these branches have been wired back on themselves. Can you see? This is all man-made. You see, this is all my wiring to create that effect. So initially the branch was going straight out and it was bent back double and wired. Same with the top. All this was wired by me. Must be about 25, 26 years ago. And this is how this literati pine has been created. I love this tree. Over the years it's become better and better. So let's move on. There are just 4 more trees to look at. Another very major maple. Again, I think this could do with repotting because it's bowing the pot. So this needs to be taken back. You see, it's swelling the pot, pushing it out this way. And if you look closely, the roots are lifting out of the pot. If you come this side, you can see. So just by visual inspection, you can see which trees need repotting and which don't. So this is a sign that it is pushing the whole thing out. So this, but look at the root formation. Just with age, you get this beautiful root effect. This, of course, I made more than 40 years ago, and it's still going strong. 40 years in the making. Very proud of this group because this is one of the first groups in the whole of UK where I used a tall larch to make a forest group. People laughed at me for making groups that tall, but it works. It looks beautiful. Look at the ramification on this. I might take this back. I'm not sure. Depends what replacement I can find. Another trident. I love trident maples because they got presence in a large collection like this. If you show large trees, it looks impressive. So I will probably leave this here. And the other very impressive tree is this last one, which is our great big Chinese elm. Look at that. Look at that. Absolutely spectacular tree. And this ramification is simply by clipping the edges of the twigs. There's no sign of new growth yet on the tree, but I think it is okay. I hope it's not going to suffer because we've had such a hard winter, minus 10 degrees on some nights. But let's see, wait and see what happens. So this will probably stay. So this is how we assess the trees, and on the next visit I'm going to show you how we repot these trees. So this video is going to be in 2 parts. Alright, so that's the visit for today.